All praises to the Most High. I'm your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas, to the true saints of the Most High God. Now, brothers and sisters, we're at Amos 9 and 8, but we're going to be talking about verse 12. And we're going to read down to verse 12 from 8, but I just want to get into it. I just want to let you know what's going on here. That they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord that doeth this. So there was a little confusion about this verse, but we're going to get it straight. And remember, brothers and sisters, what I mean by straight is by precepts. Now, some Israelite camps teach that when it says, and all the heathen which are called by my name, that other nations are calling themselves by the name of Israel. That's not what that's talking about. No, it didn't say call themselves by my name. It says called by my name. These heathen were called by my name. These. Because I want you to see this. The book of Obadiah. Because when it says, when you read all the heathen, I'm not saying that all the heathen are Israelites that are called by his name. What I'm saying is, let me just read it to you, because I want you to just stick with me here. It says, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. So the day of the Lord is coming upon all the heathen. But these are not the heathen which are called by his name, though. These are the other ones. Pay attention. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. But look at this now. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain. Who's drinking upon his holy mountain right now? Pay attention now. So shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink. They shall swallow down. And they shall be as though they had not been. So this is the judgment for the heathen. All of them. That's why, watch, look. The book of Joel. The book of Joel. I want to go to Joel. Just pay attention to what we're reading now. Joel 3. Joel 3, verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. All the heathen round about. But when we go back up, all the heathen. But we'll go back up to verse 2. I want you to get verse 2. Look at this. It says, I will also gather all nations. That's the heathen. All the heathen is nations. Heathen just means nations. This is why heathen, people, nation. Not going to play the game. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. That same valley of Jehoshaphat, the same one. And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, fighting for his people, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Again, notice how it rolls, brothers and sisters. It's the same thing as Obadiah 1:16. As ye have drunk on my holy mountain. It's the same thing. So we go, it's Valley of Jehoshaphat now. Valley of Jehoshaphat. Well, right here again. It says, assemble yourselves, Joel 3:11, and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow. For their wickedness is great. Wickedness is great. The wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's the decision. When it says multitudes and multitudes, death. They're clapping in church every Sunday. Wonder why? Death. Multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Look, the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Look, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. Christ said the same thing in Matthew 24:29. But the Lord will be the hope of his people. Multitudes in the valley of decision, but the Lord will be the hope of his people. The only ones that have hope is the law-keeping Israelites in that day, and we're going to prove it. We don't know where this teaching comes from, where Israelites teach, oh, we're going to all be saved because we're Israel. No, that's a dumb doctrine. That's worse than the Christian doctrines they teach. That just because you're Israel, you're going to be saved. And you can commit sin and wickedness. No. No. See, all the heathen are going to be punished in the day of the Lord. But notice what it says in Amos, though. Amos 9. Amos 9, verse 12, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord that doeth this. See, the heathen which are called by his name. And see, it's hard to get this understanding, except we know what's in the book. Now, heathen is nations, Gentiles. So all we need to do is let's just do it like this. The book of Ezekiel. The book of Ezekiel 25. Again, the book of Ezekiel 25 and 7. Let's look. This is the burden of proof to us. It says this, behold, therefore I will stretch out my hand upon thee. He's talking about Jerusalem now. And I will deliver thee for a spoil to the heathen, the heathen. And I will cut thee off from the people, and I will cause thee to perish out of the countries. I will destroy thee, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Talking about the sinful Israelites. Thus saith the Lord God, because that Moab and Seir do say, behold, the house of Judah is like unto all the heathen. Judah themselves became as heathen. Why? Sin, idolatry. See, that's the problem. Israel became as heathen themselves. Why do you think? See, this is why, and I want you to pay attention. The book of Galatians. The book of Galatians. Chapter 2. And watch this. We're going to read verses 7, 8, and 9. I want you to pay attention. Galatians 2, verse 7, 8, and 9. It says, but contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was to Peter. So if you look, when it says, but contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision, that's the key, uncircumcision. Keep in mind, was committed unto me, Paul, as the gospel of the circumcision, the Jews, was unto Peter. Watch. For he that wrought, parentheses now, for he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. The Gentiles were the uncircumcision in verse 7. You cannot change it. The Gentiles are the uncircumcision. That's why again and again, we'll tell you, The Hebrews called the Gentiles by the general name of Goyim, which signifies the nations that have not received the faith or the law of God, all who are not Jews and circumcised. So all who are not Jews and all who are not circumcised are comprised under the word Goyim. This is what y'all got to realize. Uncircumcision meant Gentiles. They can't change that. The uncircumcision meant Gentile. So when we go back and read it again, but contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter. For he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. The Gentiles was the uncircumcision in verse 7. But let's drop on down to verse 9. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived that the grace was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship, that we should go unto the heathen, and they unto the circumcision. Stop. In verse 7, they were called, it was the uncircumcision committed, Gentiles and heathen. It's the same. And they to the circumcision and us to the heathen. The heathen or the uncircumcision in verse 7. Same thing. The Bible does not, and I guarantee you it does not have to lie. The uncircumcision went under the name Goyim. All who are not Jews, other nations, and not circumcised are comprised under the word Goyim. That's the trick. You have to understand that it's based off uncircumcision. And we go here, uncircumcised, one who is not submitted to the Judean rite of circumcision, Gentile. A Gentile was the uncircumcised. We don't know why they playing. But notice, if the uncircumcision in verse 7 was called the heathen in verse 9, right? If the uncircumcision in verse 7 was called the heathen in verse 9, now let's go back to Acts 15 and 1. Acts 15 and 1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren, their own brethren. There were Jews and Israelites scattered. And they said, except ye be circumcised, which means there was uncircumcised Israelites. The uncircumcision of Israel was the heathen and the Gentile. It's all the same. When you look at this verse, brethren, one more time, there is no such thing as nations being brethren. Anybody, they cannot prove it. We ask you, brothers and sisters, have them prove it. Have them prove it. Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of thy kindred, the men of thy kindred, the men of thy kindred. Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of your kindred. That's your own people, buddy. Your own people. The book of Esther 10 and 3. For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren. Brethren, seeking the wealth of his people. His brethren was his people, not another nation, and speaking peace to all his seed. So his brethren was his people, was his seed. That's your brethren. There's no such thing as a white and black man being brethren in Christ. No, they cut the meaning because they know this is a book of separation, not hesitation. 2 Corinthians 6:17, come out from among them, be ye separate. Why do you think that's written? Come on now. Your brethren is your people. Paul seemed to have the same thing on record. We ain't never seen no so-called spiritual brethren in Christ. No. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites. Your brethren is your people. Old and New Testament, so they say. It's the same. Your kindred, your kinsman, your kin is your brother. Your kindred is your brother. Your own people is your brethren. They don't want to talk about that on Sunday morning. They want to talk about that. That's why, again, 1 Corinthians, we're going to keep reading this one. We want this one. No, 1 Corinthians 12. Y'all got to have it here. Any of y'all didn't know, we're going to make sure you know it. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I will not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles, his own brethren of his own people, scattered in other nations, worshiping their gods. Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away. How? In captivity into their land, unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. They were Gentiles because they were worshiping idols. So heathen and Gentile could also mean idolatry. This is where we're going. This is where we're going. This is where we're going with it. Gentile is the same as heathen. We just read it in Galatians. We just read it in Galatians 2, 7, 8, and 9. It was uncircumcision in verse 7, Gentiles in verse 8, and heathen in verse 9. They were all the same. And now we know that Paul's brethren, which were in Corinth, that used to be worshipers of those false gods, his own brethren he went out to teach, they were Gentiles. Why? Because they were worshiping those gods. In other words, the uncircumcision. We're letting you know. So what happens is, and when the burden of proof is on you and you're not able to produce, it's going to be trouble. Why do you think in Galatians? Why do you think in Galatians? Why do you think it says? It's kind of funny, brothers and sisters, how Christians read it, but when you go to verse, now I'm going to show you this. Now I want you to pay attention. Now watch how this, watch. It says, for as many as are of the works of the law under a curse. I'm going to do this real quick. So, brothers and sisters, again, these Christians, the Bible does not say all nations or sinners were under this curse. It says, for as many as are of the works of the law under a curse. Those that done the works of the law are under a curse, you Christians. You can't read, brothers and sisters, you just can't. Those that were under the curse, was those that done the works of the law. Who was it? We're going to give you an example. We're going to give you an example of what we've been talking about. So we're going to go to Romans. I'm just reading this verse down. We're going to go to Romans. Romans 9. I want you, brothers and sisters, if you don't start taking this truth serious, I don't know what to tell you. You better take it serious. Guard it with your life, because they're going to be coming after you later. When you learn the Bible, in time, we don't know if it's 20, 10, 30, however many years. Keep this work number one. Keep this study number one. This book is amazing. But pay attention, Romans 9:31. But Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, hath not attained to the law of righteousness. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. The only nation that done the works of the law was Israel. Have a pastor show you that all nations done the works of the law. No. It's over. The only ones that done the works of the law was Israel. That's it. That's why. But Israel, not but the nations, not but all nations, not but anybody else, but Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, hath not attained to the law of righteousness. Why come? Because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. So Israel was the only nation in the history of time that done the works of the law. Here it is. For they stumble at the stumbling stone. No matter what they say about the verse, we can straighten it out. What I want to show you was that Israel was the only nation that done the works of the law, and there's no one else that can prove different on this planet. Planet now. Have them show you. Look for it yourself. The only ones that done the works of the law was Israel. So when we go back, Galatians, I want you to help me make sense of this. Galatians 3. Galatians 3:10. For as many as are of the works of the law under a curse. For as many as are of the works of the law under a curse. The only ones that are under the curse, is those that done the works of the law. That's the only one that's under a curse. That's the only one. But the Christians teach everybody. No. For it is written, cursed is everyone that continueth not in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. Deuteronomy 27:26. That's what that's written. We're giving you the verse. Deuteronomy 27:26 is what Paul is quoting. Cursed is everyone that doeth not, or continueth not in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. So you were cursed if you didn't continue to do the law. They try to tell you that you were cursed for keeping it. That does not say that. That says, cursed is everyone that continueth not. If you don't continue in the law, you're cursed. What are these Christians reading? That this verse does not say you are cursed for keeping the law. It does not say that. Nowhere. It says, for as many as are of the works of the law under a curse, and that was Israel. They were of the works of the law. They were of the works of the law under a curse. And again, we told you when you go back, don't forget, when you go back up to Galatians 3, verse 2, this only would I learn of you. Receive ye the Spirit by the works of the law, works of the law, or by the hearing of faith, works of the law. Are ye so foolish, having begun in the Spirit? Are you now made perfect by the flesh? Now we know, brothers and sisters, that the flesh is the works of the law. Don't let them tell you that the flesh is the works of the law. So again, 1 Corinthians, what is the flesh? The works of the law was the flesh. The works of the law was the flesh. 1 Corinthians 10. 1 Corinthians 10. Verse 18. Behold, Israel after the flesh. Are not they which eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar? Partakers of the altar? So the flesh was the altar. The flesh was the altar. So when we go back to Galatians, the flesh was the altar. Galatians 3. And verse 3. Verse 2. Only this would I learn of you. Receive you the Spirit by the works of the law, or by the hearing of faith? Faith came by hearing. Romans 10:17, and hearing by the word of God. The word of God was the law. That's how faith came, by hearing the Old Testament. But We'll go back into it. Are ye so foolish, having begun in the spirit? Because the law is of the spirit. Romans 8:2. Are ye now made perfect by the altar? The altar. So the works of the law was the flesh, which was the altar. Pay attention now. Now you got that understanding. The works of the law is the altar. For as many as are of the works of the law under a curse, the only ones that receive sacrifice were the saints. Psalms 50:5, buddy. They're the only ones that had sacrifice. This is why the Christians read it like they read it. They're not reading it right because they know why. For as many as are of the works of the law under a curse, which was Israel, because they're the only ones that done the works. For it is written, cursed is everyone that continueth not in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. So if you don't continue in keeping the law, you're cursed. Not if you keep it. But watch this. But that no man is justified by the law. The law, they're not justified, is the works of the law. Remember, don't forget about the word. When it says the law, it's talking about the works. But that no man is justified by the law in the sight of God. For it is evident, the just shall live by faith. Now hold on. The just shall live by faith. The just shall. Yes, look at this. Habakkuk. Chapter 2. Watch this. He quoted this. Here it is. For the vision is yet for a appointed time. So for the vision is yet for an appointed time. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him in sin, but the just shall live by his faith. See, brothers and sisters, the just shall live by his faith. It says that the just shall live by faith. The just, not anybody shall live by faith. It says the just shall live by faith. The book of Ezekiel. The book of Ezekiel chapter 18. We're showing you who the just is. We're right along. We're showing you. Ezekiel 18:4. Behold, all souls are mine. As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. But if a man be just, J-U-S-T, and do that which is lawful and right. So a just man is one that keeps the law. They can't change this. They can't change it. They can't. They can't change it. Watch verse 9. Verse 9. Hath walked in my statutes and hath kept my judgments to deal truly. He is just. He is just. He is just. He shall surely live, saith the Lord God. A just man keeps God's judgments, which are the laws. And come and watch this. Oh, yeah, the book of Romans chapter 2. Y'all knew where I was going. Romans chapter 2. Let's get these verses. It didn't change. It never changed. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be just. Justified is just. So if you keep the law, you're just like it. Both testaments say the same thing. A just man keeps the law. So what they talking about? What's he talking about? A just man keeps the law. So a just man. So look, I see Psalms 43. Then we got to get back to it. Psalms 43. Real quick. Psalms 43. Judge me, O God, and plead my cause against an ungodly nation. O deliver me from the deceitful and unjust man. So an unjust man is a sinner. An unjust man is a sinner. There's the opposite to the just. Unjust is a sinner. Huh? Wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you think? See, an unjust man is a sinner. Matthew 5:45, that ye may be children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh the sun to rise on the evil, which is the sin, and the good, which is the law keeper, and sendeth rain to the just and on the unjust. So there is an unjust and a just. There's an unjust. The unjust is the sinner. And there's the just, law keeper. 3 verses to prove it. Ezekiel 18:5, Ezekiel 18:9, and Romans 2:13. Hey, boy, we don't got to play with you. 1 Kings. You can't knock out a verse. 1 Kings 8. 1 Kings 8. Verse 32. Then hear thou in heaven, and do, and judge thy servants, condemning the wicked, to bring his way upon his head, and justifying the righteous. Justifying the righteous, to give him according to his righteousness. Justifying the righteous. 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 The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of God is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. The righteous have the law of God in their hearts. The righteous have the law of God in their hearts. Now, I'm showing these two because people may not have watched this. We got to keep showing it. This is John the Baptist's parents, and they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless. The righteous were law keepers. So God had always justified those that kept the law. Justifying the righteous was justifying the law keepers and rewarding him. Now the so-called Sunday church saying, well, you're not justified by the law. Well, God was justifying law keepers in the Old Testament. But the new he's not. We just read it in Romans 2:13. It is not the hearers of the law that are just before God, but the doers of the law that shall be justified. Because you're still justified by the law, as you were in the Old Testament. So if he was justifying the righteous, and they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless, that's who he was justifying, the righteous, not the sinner. So when you talk about the just shall live by faith, those just that's living by faith are law keepers. So when we go back to, and remember, brothers and sisters, the Romans, just going to show you again, Romans 1:17. For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith. For it is written, the just shall live by faith. The only ones who are living by faith is the just. The just are the law keepers. We don't know how you keep Easter, Christmas, baby day, dog day, cat day, bird day, and think you're living by faith. The Bible never said sinners live by faith. Those that transgress the law, there is no such thing as transgressors of the law living by faith. It is not. This is the ignorance of the boy when you can't see past it. When you can't see past it. When you can't see past, that's why it says here in Hebrews 10:38, now the just shall live by faith, the law keeper shall live by faith. But if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition. That's sin. Perdition is the wickedness. I would say, because 2 Peter 3:7 says that ungodly men which are sinners are those of perdition. That's why when you see, but we are not of them who draw back unto perdition, but to them that believe to the saving of the soul. So when you see that word perdition, we want you to understand quickly that when you talk about 2 Peter 3, we know what we're talking about, brothers and sisters. We got the verses to show you. We're not just going to say it. We're going to show you. But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and the perdition of ungodly men. Ungodly men are sinners. So the perdition were by sinners. Don't tell us what we don't know. This lets you know that the just that shall live by faith in Hebrews 10:38 are law keepers. The just are law keepers. That's why. Perdition of ungodly men, which were sinners. Let's go back to Hebrews 10. The book of Hebrews 10. Chapter Hebrews 10:38. And we're going around the bend for a reason, brothers and sisters. I know this is deep, but all I'm supposed to be doing is teaching you that, well, I'm just making the point that the heathen were the Gentiles. But we're doing this for a reason. Now the just shall live by faith. But if any man draw back from what? Keeping the law, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. The only ones that were living by faith were the just, law keeper. But if any man draw back in the sin, my soul shall have no pleasure. But we are not of them who draw back into perdition, sinners. That's who the people of perdition are, the ungodly, the sinner. But of them that believe to the saving of the soul. So when we just shall live by faith. So back to Galatians. We're just letting you see Galatians 3. Galatians 3:11. But that no man is justified by the law, the works of the law. That's the law it's talking about in the sight of God. For it is evident, for the just, which is the law keeper, shall live by faith. And the law is not of faith. Which law? Come on, there we go. This is talking about the works of the law. The same law. Watch. And you're going to see. And the law is not of what law? The works of the law. The flesh is not. Don't let him. He's talking about the same law. For as many as are of the works of the law. The works of the law was the flesh. Those that done the works of the law, which was Israel, they were under the curse. The works of the law is what he's talking about, and that was the flesh. Galatians 3:3. 2 and 3, really, if you read them together. He comes back and says, and the law is not of faith, but the man that doeth them shall live in them. What law were they doing and lived in? What law was that? Back to it's going to show you. 1 Corinthians is going to show you the Bible. 1 Corinthians 9. Real quick. But the law is not of faith. See that? And the law is not of faith, but the man that doeth them shall live in them. Doeth them shall live in what? Watch this. It says, do ye not know that they which minister about the holy things live of the things of the temple? That's the things. They shall live by them. Live. And they which wait at the altar are partakers of the altar. That's the law. That's what they were living by. You're still talking about the works of the law. That's why we go back to Galatians. Galatians. The only ones that done the works of the law is Israel. Nobody can prove different. So this is what's important. And the law is not of faith, but the man that doeth them shall live in them. If he does the works of the law, he shall live in the works, which was the flesh, the altar. That's the law that was not of faith. But watch this. Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law. Who did he redeem from the curse? Those that were, see, do you know, brothers and sisters, do you know how many ignorant pastors, come on, these fake pastors, ignorant pastors, they quote this verse and don't even know Christ has redeemed us. Who is the us from the curse of the law? Those that were under. that curse? Who done the works? Makes sense this. For as many as are of the works of the law under a curse, the only ones that are under a curse is who done the works, and that was Israel. So when it says Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, he's only redeeming Israel from the curse. Being made a curse for us, for it is written, cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree. Now pay attention. Here's the Christian. This is what they like. That the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles. Pow! There it is. Which Gentiles? Now remember, when you're reading Paul, put it together. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter. So uncircumcision now, for he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. The Gentiles were the uncircumcision. Same ones. It's the same thing. It can't change. Ain't no context to it. They're liars. The uncircumcision is the Gentile. That's anybody, including those scattered Israelites. So when you're telling me that the only ones that done the works of the law are under a curse, only one that done it, and then Christ has redeemed us, who was under the curse of the law? Those that done the works of the law. He only came to redeem Israel from that curse. He didn't come to redeem nations. Only Israel was under the curse. Being made a curse for us, for it is written, cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree, that the blessing of Abraham might come on the uncircumcision through the Messiah Christ, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. That's where the confusion comes in at. Gentiles. They're making the Gentiles everybody. No, it's the uncircumcision of Israel. We're not going to keep playing with these people, man. The book of Acts. We know you're not going to take Acts 11:1. And the apostles and brethren that were in Judea heard that the Gentiles had also received the word of God. When Peter was come up to Jerusalem, they that were of the circumcision contended with him, saying, thou wentest into men uncircumcised and didst eat with them. Uncircumcised in verse 3 was the Gentiles in verse 1. Don't tell us. They were the same. There's no non-Jew here. As it says here, right, reading in the middle, all who are not Jews, and not applies to circumcised. So all. It didn't say all nations. It says all who are not Jews and uncircumcised. And means as well as. So when you say all who are not Jews and circumcised, Acts 15:1, and they came down from Judea and taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised. There was uncircumcised Israelites among the nations. And look again, all who are not Jews and circumcised are comprised under the word goyim. Same thing. Gentiles, uncircumcised. They know it because we see it here. Acts 11:1, Gentiles. Acts 11:3, uncircumcised. Same thing. Ephesians. Don't tell us, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision. Gentiles, uncircumcision. Same thing. We know that the Gentiles Paul is talking about was the uncircumcision. How in the world, brothers and sisters, look at this. Galatians Galatians chapter 3 and verse 13. Christ has redeemed us, those that done the works of the law, from the curse of the law. The only ones that was under that curse is those that done the works, which was Israel, being made a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree, that the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles. Stop. Pay attention to pay attention. He has redeemed Israel from under the curse of the law, that the blessing may come upon the other nations. Why doesn't it say he redeemed the nations from the curse of the law? Why didn't it just say Christ has redeemed the nations? Because the us is who was under the curse. And that's who done the works of the law, which was Israel. He had freed them from the curse of the law, being made a curse for them, being hung on a tree for them, that the blessing may come on the other nations. No, these Gentiles were the uncircumcision, their uncircumcised brethren among the nations, that the blessing may come upon them through the Messiah Christ, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. If you think this Gentiles is talking about other nations, no, this is the uncircumcision. 1 Corinthians 12, 1 and 2, he called his own brethren Gentiles, the uncircumcision, worshiping other gods. So if we're proving that Israelites scattered were heathen, we've done a good job. That's part and parcel to the burden of proof. Precept upon precept. They'll have you think this Gentile is about all people. No. And it's been talking about the same Gentiles it was talking about in verse 2, the uncircumcision. Plain and simple. So we know that our people were heathen. We know because they were scattered among the nations. But you know what else? Matthew 18. It's another way you can be a heathen. It's another way. Matthew 18, verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother trespass against thee, brother now, go and tell him his fault, his sin, between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. If he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, and that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he neglect to hear them, tell it to the church. And if you neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. So if this man sins against you and he will not repent, Christ says he is as a heathen man. So transgression can also make you a heathen. That's what they don't tell you. So when we go back to Amos, I'm going to show you. Let's go back to Amos. I went too far. I just wanted to show you Galatians 3. It doesn't make sense for Christ to redeem Israel from under the curse of the law, that the blessing may come upon other nations. No, those Gentiles were upon the uncircumcision among them. That's why, again, we really want you to see these 2 verses. And we know. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? We're telling you, the Gentiles were the dispersed among them. They were also Gentiles because they were worshiping their gods. That's why Paul said again in 1 Corinthians 12 and 2. We keep repeating this. We want you to understand the Gentiles is the number 1 doctrine in the world. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I will not have you ignorant. The brethren he's talking to is his kinsmen scattered in Corinth. You know that ye were Gentiles. The brethren, his own people, used to be Gentiles. There's nothing they can do about this. We're telling you, Israelites were heathen. So when we read this to you in Amos, 9, we know what we're talking about. If we couldn't prove that the Israelites were heathen, then you had us. That they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name. It doesn't say all the heathen. It says all the heathen which are called by my name. Those heathen that were called by his name at one point in time was the uncircumcision. We already know about Isaiah 63. We already, because you can't say two things at once. It didn't say they called themselves by his name. It says, we are, let's look. Thy people, the people of thy, do I want to start here? Yeah. Again, the people of thy holiness have possessed it but for a little while. Our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary. The adversaries that trodden down his sanctuary would be who? The Gentiles. We are thine. Thou never bearest rule over them. They were not called by thy name. They were never the other nations were never called by his name. Ever. Can't go both ways. They were never called by God. They were never called by God's name. Only Israel was called by his name. But this is what I want you to see. Let's go back to Amos. See, now we're going to work our way down, and then you're going to see it more clearly. Amos 9 and 8. Amos 9 and 8. It says, behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord. What does that mean? Let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 30. Same thing. Jeremiah 30. And you know, it was on TikTok where they were reading in Acts 13:47. And this guy mentioned Jeremiah 30, verse 11. Don't you know that guy on TikTok didn't want to go there? He was like, man, let's just stay right here. He said, no, let's go there. No, I want to stay here, man. We dealing with one verse at a time. He said, okay. And he left. See, we're going to show you why. Jeremiah 30 and 10. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord. Neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest. They're not in rest now. See, that's how you know those people are not the Jews. They're not resting. They're at war right now. That lets you know that they're not the Jews. And be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whether I have scattered thee. Boom. Though I make a full end of all nations, whether I have scattered thee. I'm going to make a full end of them. He don't want to read that. He don't want people to see that. Yet will I not make a full end of thee. See, I will not utterly. We're going to go back to Amos 9 and 8, because this says the same thing. Amos 9 and 8 says same thing. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations, whether I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and I will not leave thee altogether unpunished. What does it mean altogether? Don't you know, brothers and sisters, when it says, but I will correct thee in measure, and I will not leave thee altogether? That means some of us are going to be punished. There's going to be a punishment for some of our people, and you're going to see it when we go back to Amos. Amos 9 and 8. Though I make a full end of all nations where I have scattered thee, yet I will not make a full end of thee. Amos 9. Verse 8 again. Amos 9 and 8. Behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord. Okay. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. Now we're going to go back over this, because it says, for lo, I will command. What does this mean? Psalms 44. This is what we love this. Psalms 44. We just want to read this to you. Psalms 44 and 3. This is what David wrote. It says, for they got not the land in possession by their own sword. Talking about back in time. Neither did their own arm save them, but thy right hand and thine arm and the light of thy countenance, because thou hadst favor unto them. The them he had favor to was Israel. The favor Israel now. But watch this. It says, thou art my king, O God. Command deliverances for Jacob. Notice, it says command deliverances, more than one. More than one. See, when he says command deliverances, that's what it's talking about in Amos 9 and 9. Thou art my king, O God. Command deliverances for Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies. Through thy name will we tread them under that rise up against us. Because that's what's going to happen when we get the kingdom. See, God commands deliverances for Jacob like he just did here in Amos 9. Let's go back to Amos. Amos 9. Amos 9. Verse 9. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations. Now let's take a look at this sift. Let's look at the sift. Now, I just typed in the biblical word of what sift was, and this is what they came up with. Well, this is what they gave me. I'm sorry. It says sifting in the Bible typically refers to the process of separating wheat from its inedible counterpart, which is the chaff. So God is going to come and sift Israel among all nations, meaning he's going to separate them. Let's go down to the bottom one, which we don't want that middle part. It says sift as wheat is a metaphor that could also be expressed as shake something apart. And that's what it is. It's really shaking apart. When God sifts Israel from among the nations, he's shaking apart the other nations from Israel. And not the least grain of Israel shall fall. What happens when you sift? The chaff falls to the earth. When God sifts Israel, the chaff is going to fall to the earth. That's why he said, for lo, I will command that deliverance, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations. There's your all nations, there's Israel, separated, shook apart, like corn is sifted in a sieve. See, yet not the least grain, which is Israel, shall fall upon the earth. Why? Because they're going to be in the air. He's going to separate. That's why separation also, when we go back, it says at the top, sifting in the Bible typically refers to the process of separating wheat from its edible counterpart. Wheat. Now, I think, wait a minute. Let me look at this. Bear with me, brothers and sisters. Bear with me. Bear with me. Ba, 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 ba. Now remember the parable of Christ. Remember the parable of Christ that he told. Now we're going to start in verse 28. Now, watch this. We're going to look at the top. Sifting in the Bible typically refers to the process of separating wheat from its inedible counterpart. Or at the bottom, sift as wheat is a metaphor that could also be expressed as shake something apart. Shake something apart. So Christ gave the parable about this. And he said unto them, an enemy has done this. The servants said unto him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. That same harvest that was talked about in Joel 3:13. The same harvest. And the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, bind them in bundles to burn them. The tares are the other nations with our evil, sinful people. And you're going to see our people that agree with that Sunday, Easter, Christmas, baby day, dog day stuff, they're involved in this too. But gather the wheat into my barn. My barn is the kingdom. So when we go back, it was told, when we go back to Amos 9. Amos 9. God makes it a point for us to understand this. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations like corn is sifted in a sieve. Yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. The earth, when they separate, the other ones are going to fall, but not Israel. That's the grain. All the sinners of my people shall all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. The sinners of his people will not be. Do we have to make this clear? If when it says he will sift Israel from among all nations, and not the least grain fall upon the earth, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, is letting you know that the sinners of his people, which are the sinners of Israel, will not be sifted with the house of Israel from those nations. They will not. We keep telling you the sinners are not going to be there. They're not going to be there. This over and over has been showed. That's why Christ said in Matthew 5. It was Matthew 5. Matthew 5:19, just one verse. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Least. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. When it says least in the kingdom, what do you think that means? Let's go down. You're gonna see the kingdom, but watch. For I say unto you, except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Meaning, if you're least in the kingdom, you're with somebody else. You've been separated right along with them. That's why, once again, when we go back to Psalms 103, we're telling you that the law is, when you see an Israelite, oh, I'm an Israelite. No, that doesn't mean, being Israel doesn't mean anything. Not at all. Of course, it says, Matthew 3:9, and think not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you that God is able of these stones, which were the poor of Israel, to raise up children unto Abraham. Just because you were Abraham's seed means nothing. It meant nothing if you were a sinner of Abraham's seed. Now also the axe is laid into the root of the trees. Therefore every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. If you're a sinful Israelite, you're going to pay. Psalms 103. Psalms 103. Watch this, Psalms 103, verse 17. But the mercy of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting upon them that fear him, and his righteousness unto the children's children, to such as keep his covenant, and to those that remember his commandments to do them. The Lord hath prepared his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom ruleth over all. When the Lord right now is preparing his throne in the heavens. That's why Christ says in John 15, that when it says, see, the Lord has prepared his throne in the heavens, John 15, or John 14, the Lord has prepared his throne in the heavens. Those that keep the law, the Lord has prepared the throne, his throne in the heavens. It's being prepared for you. Watch this. I'm just get to the point. Well, let me look at this. Read verse 1. Let not your hearts be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house, which is the kingdom, are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, what is that place? What is that place he's preparing? The kingdom. The place he's preparing is the kingdom. I will come again and receive you unto myself. There where I am, there. Let me read that again. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself. That there I am, there, that where I am, there ye may also be. So that where I am, there ye may also be. The place that's being prepared is the kingdom. That's why it says in Psalms 103. Bro, since I struggled past that one, I just don't know what was going on. Psalms 103. Doing all this reading, you see double, but hey, precept must be upon precept. Psalms 103, verse 18. Look at this. To such as keep his covenant, and to those that remember his commandments to do them, the Lord has prepared his throne in the heavens. Prepared his throne. That's what's being prepared. And his kingdom ruleth over all. So if you keep the law, you're in the kingdom. If you keep the law, you're in the kingdom. If you're a sinner, you won't get the kingdom. If you're a sinner, you won't get the kingdom. Ephesians 5:5. For this ye know, that no whoremonger, no unclean person, nor covetous man, this is sinner, who is an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. If you're a sinner, you're not going to get into the kingdom. If you're a sinful Israelite, you're not getting into the kingdom. So what's going to happen to you? Let's read one more. Get to the point here. Verse 9. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? The unrighteous is opposite of the righteous. The righteous were the law keepers. The unrighteous would be who? The sinners. Shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Be not deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, weak men, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous. Thieves and covetous is in the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. That's what a thief does. Nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. In other words, sinners will not be in the kingdom. So the sinful Israelites that are not in the kingdom, what do you think that's going to happen to them? What you think going to happen? Amos 9. Amos 9. Verse 10. Easy to see with precepts. Amos 9 and 10. And all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. These men, we teach doom, they teach it's not going to happen. These Sunday pastors, the God's not going to do the stuff they're teaching. He loves the world. He does this. Cover up, cover up, cover up. That's what this is about. And the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. But watch this. And that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. Why? Here we go. That they may possess the remnant of Edom, and all the heathen which are called by my name. Now you can see. Not only is he going to possess the remnant of Edom, but he's also going to possess the uncircumcision of Israel. Because let me tell you something. Pay close attention to what you're about to pay close attention. The book of 1 Corinthians 12, 1 and 2 again. Watch. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. If you are worshiping idols, you're a heathen, because that's what Gentile is. It could have easily said, and you know that you were heathen, carried away into these dumb idols, even as you were led. So a heathen worships an idol. Again, a heathen worships an idol. The heathen worship an idol. The heathen worship an idol. So anybody worshiping idols of our people are heathen. Point blank. And you see it as proof right here. When it says, you know, ye were Gentiles, that means you used to be. And the reason why is because you were carried away unto these dumb idols. You were in idolatry. So Israelites that were in idolatry were heathen. Why do you think it says in the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. That they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name. When it says possessed, that means that those Israelites, think. It says Edom first, and all the heathen which are called by my name. Why does the heathen which are called by his name in Edom get taken together in a possession? This is a prophecy. It's noting Edom will be possessed right along with the heathen that are called by his name. The wicked Israelites, notice they're together because they were together here. The book of Psalms. See, brothers and sisters, you fall asleep on things. The book of Psalms chapter 2 verse 1. Why do the heathen rage? And the people are the wicked Israelites, imagine a vain thing. See, we're going to show you. See, why do the Gentiles rage and the people? So that means that the heathen and the people are together. But I want you to look at this now. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, but pay attention. The book of Acts chapter 4. We're going to see who these people are that take counsel against the Lord. The book of Acts chapter 4. Thinking is trying to see. Give me a second, brothers and sisters. I didn't know I was going to go there sometimes. Yes, that's where I thought so. Acts chapter 4, verse 25. Who by the mouth of thy servant David said, why did the heathen rage and the people imagine vain things? The kings of the earth stood up, and the rulers were gathered together against the Lord and against his Christ. For of a truth thy holy child, the Messiah, whom thou hast appointed, both Herod and Pontius Pilate, with the Gentiles and the people of Israel, were gathered together against Christ. So the Gentiles and Israelites were gathered together against Christ. Once again, the Gentiles and the people of Israel were gathered together. Both of them. And so when you go back to Amos 9, now I want you to pay attention to the twist. I want you to pay attention to the twist because they're going to be called something. Watch. They were together all the time. That's why when you see it in Amos 9, verse 11, and that day, we'll do verse 11. And that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. When they rebuilt, when they're raised, they're going to possess the remnant of Edom and all the heathen which are called by his name, and that's Israel, because they are going to be possessed right along with Edom in slavery. You think unlawful Israelites are going to get into the kingdom? No. That's why Christ said it. Christ said it. When you look in the book of Matthew, Christ already told you this. Christ has went over this. Matthew 22. Matthew 22. Watch this. Now this is when it came to the wedding feast. The wedding feast was only for Israel in the first place. We don't know whether he come thinking all nations. No. And when the king came to see the guest, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he said unto him, friend, friend, friend. Why does he say friend? Let's go to 2 Chronicles. This is telling you who was invited to the wedding feast. Friend. Friend. He makes sure you understand who's invited. Friend. 2 Chronicles 20:7. not thou our God, who didst drive out the inhabitants of this land before thy people Israel, and gavest it to the seed of Abraham, thy friend forever? The seed of Abraham was his friend. The seed of Abraham was his friend. Isaiah 41, we're going to prove that again, Isaiah 41. When he says friend, we're showing you who the friend is. There's no such thing as other nations being the friend. Oh my goodness, boy, these Christians. Isaiah 41:8. Behold, thou Israel art my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. The seed of Abraham is his friend. That's why, again, the seed of Abraham, Zechariah 13, verse 6. Just get to the point. And one shall say unto him, what are these wounds in thine hands? Then he shall answer, those with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. The house of his friends is the house of Israel. He was wounded in his own house. Friends. Israel was his friend. So when we go back to Matthew, he's making a point. The only friend, Israel was the friend. Matthew 22. Notice now. And he saith unto him, friend, how camest thou in hither having not a wedding garment? How did you get in here without a wedding garment? And he was speechless. He didn't have a garment. Why? Because of sin. That's Revelation 16:15 all day. Watch your garments unless you be naked, and they shall see your shame. Watch this. Then said the king to the servant, bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Cast him into outer darkness. Remember, bind him hand and foot. Who else are we going to bind? Who else are we going to bind? Psalms 149. The same punishment that Esau is going to get in the nations, our people in sin are going to get. Watch. That's why the Bible says in Psalms 149:7, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. And heathen and punishments upon the people. The people are the heathen too. So somebody else is going to be punished with the heathen. But people are also heathen. Wait. Let's look and see what heathen mean now. Because you confused. Heathen, people, nation. So somebody's going to get punished to execute vengeance upon the heathen, and punishments upon the people. To bind their kings with chains. Bind. He's not only going to bind the heathen, the other nations, he's going to bind up the sinful heathen of the people as well that are with them. Bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. Back to Matthew 22. Look at this bind. Matthew 22. Let's see. Verse 13. Then said the king, let me go back up. And he saith unto him, friend, how camest thou in hither not having a wedding garment? You're not covered. You don't have on a garment, brother. You're not part of this wedding. And he was speechless. He had nothing to say. Then said the king to the servants, bind him hand and foot. With what? Come on now. And take him away. Take him away, the friend away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So the friend that had no garment was cast out into outer darkness. Well, who's in outer darkness? Let's go right on to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel 2. Let's look at this darkness. 1 Samuel 2 and 8. He raiseth up the poor. That's the poor of Israel. Isaiah 14:32. Out of the dust and lifted up the poor out of the dust and lifted up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among princes, to make them inherit the throne of glory. That's the kingdom. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he hath set the world upon those pillars. He will keep the feet of his saints, the saints of the children of Israel, and the wicked which are the Gentiles shall be silent in darkness. And the wicked shall be silent in darkness, for by strength no man shall prevail. That outer darkness that Christ was talking about, you're going to be put right with the heathen. That's that darkness. It's going to be darkness for the heathen when we're in our kingdom. It's going to be darkness for all other nations because they're going to have to fall up under the rule and the slavery that they're going to go up under until the Lord destroys them and only Israel remains. That's the reality. That's Daniel 7, verses 10 through 12. There's a reality to this. The Gentiles, which is the wicked, the heathen, shall be silent in darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. That's where the heathen are going to be in the kingdom. Darkness. And it also proves that Israel, those that don't have on a garment because of sin, they're going to be put in the same darkness with other nations. They're going to pay. Our people are going to pay. They're going to be possessed in slavery as the other nations because they were with them. They were unlawful. They did not keep the law. They're not going to get the kingdom, but they're going to be peasants right along with the nations. That's why it says in Matthew 13. Let's look at this. Matthew. Go back to Matthew 13. We're telling you, Christ is very, very, very easy to see. He's going to finish this parable out. Now, we were in Matthew 13. Now we're going to go to the parable. Christ is explaining it. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. The harvest is the end of the world. The book of Joel again. Joel 3. Verse 13, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Multitudes is a lot of death. The harvest is a lot of death. That's why he says the end of the world. What world? Esau's world. We gonna prove it. Back to Matthew. Back to Matthew 13. The enemy that sowed them is the devil, and the harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. This world. This world now. got to pay close attention to what we're reading. Pay close attention. I always say that now I'm going to read this. This is out of the Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary. Let me show you world. World, universe, John 1 and 10, human race, Acts 17:31, which you know as it is what they think. Unregenerate humanity, Roman Empire. The world, this world, when the Bible says this world, it was talking about the Roman Empire, meaning the people of Rome. Now, look at this now. Number 4, Roman Empire. Roman Empire. They knew something. Let's go back up. Let's go back up. Watch. Oh, sorry about that, brothers and sisters. Went to the wrong screen. It says, as therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. This world was Rome. Christ is telling you that the world of Rome, this world that they're in. That's why when you look at it, it says in John, pay attention to what you're reading. John 13, and we're going to come back to Matthew 13. John 13 and 1. Now before the feast of the Passover, when the Messiah knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world. This world is Rome's world unto the Father, having loved his own people, which were in Esau's world, and he loved them unto the end. He loved his own, which were in his world, Esau's world, because that's this world. He didn't love all nations. He loved his own, which were in his world. This world is Esau, Rome. This world is Rome. They know this. The world at the time of the book, when Christ, that was Esau. That was the world. But God's world was in Isaiah 45:17, Israel. So when we go back to Matthew 13. Matthew 13. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in fire, or in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. So this, he's telling you that the Romans are going to be burned by fire, like it says in the book of Daniel chapter 7, verse 11. Same thing. I beheld until the beast was slain. This is what, look, watch. Daniel 7, just going to Daniel 7. It's Daniel 7, verse 11. Just verse 11. And I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, I beheld even to the beast was slain. That's the great horn. That's Greece, Rome. They're telling you the people. And his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. Fire. Fire. Same thing. Same threat. Out of Christ's mouth. Same threat out of Christ's mouth. Matthew 13 again. Verse 40. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, which is sin. Psalms 32 and 5 proves iniquity is sin. Psalms 32:5 proves iniquity is sin. And shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of the teeth. So the Israelites that are in sin are going to suffer the same punishment Edom does. That's what we're telling you. Whether they be killed, burned with fire, or slaves. That's why Paul made it real clear unto us in Ephesians 2. Ephesians 2, verse 11. This is why this was written. It says, wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh who are called uncircumcision. The uncircumcised Israelites were the Gentiles, by that which was called circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Christ. Without Christ. Without Christ. Now, let me see. Without Christ. 1 Corinthians 5. I want to show you this. I want to make sure you see this. It says, yet not altogether with the fornicators. Wait a minute. Watch this. Verse 9. I wrote unto you. And before I do that, we're talking about fornicators. Let's go to, I want to show you fornicators. What is it? What directly it is. It says, flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body. But he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. So fornication is sin. Fornication is sin. A sinner. That's fornicate. That's a fornicator. But watch this. I wrote unto you in an epistle, not to company with sinners, yet altogether with fornicator, yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous sinner, or extortioners, or with idolaters. For then must ye needs go out of the world. You got to leave that. But now I have written unto you not to keep company, if a man that is called a brother be a sinner, or covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner, with such and one not to eat with. So Paul is saying, look, if you see a man among you, do not keep company with that man that is a brother, that is a fornicator, or covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner. With such an one know not to eat. With such a one don't eat with. Know not to eat with that person. For what have I to do to judge them that are without? You're going to find out what that without is. Do not ye judge them that are within, but them that are without God judges. What does that mean? You're going to find out. Therefore put away from among yourselves that wicked person. The wicked person is the one that's without God. Meaning the sinner is without God. But them which are without God, but them that are without God, but them that are without God judgeth. Therefore put away from among yourselves that wicked person. The wicked person is the one without God. The wicked person is a sinner. Notice that brother is also wicked, as the Gentiles are wicked. It's the same. Those that are without God are those that are sinners. They're without God. So when Paul says, boy, I had to get through that one too. Wow. Been reading a lot, brothers and sisters. My eyes are tired, but I'm almost done. The book of Ephesians. Again, the book of Ephesians chapter 2. Verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Christ. When you were Gentiles, worshiping, 1 Corinthians 12, 1 and 2, worshiping other gods in idolatry, when you were in idolatry, when you were uncircumcised, you were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God. See, there it is again. Without God in the world. Letting you know that the Gentiles, the other nations, are without God. But the uncircumcision of Israel was also without God. That's why Paul made an interest to teach them. Because when they were Gentiles, the uncircumcision, you were without Christ. You were aliens from the commonwealth and strangers. Do you see that word, strangers? When you were in idolatry, you were strangers from the covenants of promise. When you were Gentiles, uncircumcised in idolatry, you were strangers, letting you know that these uncircumcision among the nations of Israel were strangers from the covenants as well. They were also strangers. And if you are strangers from the covenants of promise and you have no hope without God in the world, listen to me again. We're telling you who these Gentiles are. Gentiles is the same as heathen. Wherefore remember that ye being in times past heathen in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision, because the heathen was the uncircumcision, like the Gentiles, same thing. By that which is called circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time you were without Christ. So when you were in your uncircumcision, worshiping other gods, you were without Christ. You were aliens from the commonwealth, strangers from the so you are strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope without God in the world. You had no hope as the Gentiles had no hope. If you were still in Gentile mode, which was the uncircumcision, you don't have Christ. You're without God. Strangers from the covenants of promise. So if you're strangers, when we get Isaiah, see, this is why we say in the book of Isaiah 14, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob. But look, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob. On Jacob now. Let's go back. Let's go back up to Psalms 103. It will see, when you see Jacob, you think it's all Jacob. No, Psalms 103. Psalms 103. Again, verse 17. But the mercy of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting upon them that fear him. Fear him, and his righteousness unto children's children, to such as keep his covenant, and to those that remember his commandments to do them. That is who the mercy is on when it comes to Israel. The mercy is on those that keep the law. Those Israelites. You're not going to have mercy on sinful Israelites. It's not there. The mercy is for them that, wait a minute, let's they're coming. I don't have to lie to you. Look at Nehemiah 1. It just popped in my head. Nehemiah 1, verse 5. And said, I beseech thee, O Lord God of heaven, the great and terrible God, that keepeth covenant and mercy for them that love him and observe his commandments. The mercy is for the commandment keepers of Israel. So y'all think when it says have mercy on Jacob, he's going to have mercy on the sinners? No. He has mercy on the law keepers of Israel. Daniel 9. Let me see if that's Daniel 9. Let's see if we can get some more precepts on this. I don't know. Daniel 9. Here it is. And I prayed unto the Lord my God and made my confession and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, terrible God, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him and to them that keep his commandments. The mercy was for those that loved him and kept his commandments. So the mercy is on commandment keeping Israelites, not sinful Israelites. That's what they have you think. Oh, the mercy is going to be up on all. No, the mercy is going to be up on the law keeping Israelites. That's why, again, when we go back to Isaiah 14, verse 1, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them. What are these strangers that's going to be joined? Because look. Remember, set them in their own land. Set them in their own land. Set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined. Stop. Let me look at this. Strangers shall be joined. Joel again. Strangers shall be joined. Joel 3. Verse 17. So shall ye know that I am the Lord, your God, dwelling in Mount Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore. Joel 3:17 says that there will be no strangers pass through her. No strangers will ever come into that land again. Now wait a minute. Now that's kind of strange. No strangers shall pass through her anymore. Meaning no stranger shall go into that land ever again. When the Lord is in that land, strangers will not be there. But wait. Isaiah. Something's wrong here. Isaiah 14, verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers, who are these strangers? These strangers are those Israelites that were worshiping other gods, shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. They shall cleave. They have you think there's strangers that are going to go into the land with them are other nations. No. Sorry. Watch this. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. Who will be these servants and handmaids in the land? Your brothers and sisters that were in sin. They're going to be your possession. Your possession. You think that they were going to get away? No. For servants and handmaids. The servants and handmaids are going to be your own brethren in that land. And they shall take them captives. Who are they going to take captives? The other nations, whose captives they were. And they shall rule over their oppressors. But let me show you. Let's get the book of Zephaniah. We're going to prove to you Zephaniah chapter 2. Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 11. I want you to pay attention. The Lord will be terrible unto them, for he will famish all the gods of the earth. Gods, those gods were rulers of nations. And men shall worship him. everyone from his place, even all the isles of the heathen. When it says everyone from his place, that means they're going to be slaves from the place they're at. They're not going to be in Jerusalem. They're going to be at their own land, in their own place. Own place. They're not coming to that land. No way. All the isles of the heathen that are left alive after the second coming of Christ, they're going to worship him from their own place. They're not coming into that land, but the Israelites will come into that land whether they are rulers or they're the least in the kingdom, like Christ said, servants and handmaids. We know what we're talking about. We got, brothers and sisters, I'm not going to take it there, but when we have to, we're going to prove to you, we got about 7 or 8 verses that tell you that the only ones that are going to be in that land when Christ comes is Israel. No heathen will, they're not coming in. They're not going to possess the land. They're not coming into it at all. They're not going to be there. What number 12 gates? When we go to Isaiah, that's why, back to, wait a minute, before I do that, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 12 again. That at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise. If you're strangers from the promise and you have no hope without God in the world, what's going to happen when the second coming of Christ comes? You're not going to be saved. Strangers from the promise, meaning the Gentiles, which were the uncircumcision of Israel, were strangers from the covenant of promise. Why? Because they were worshiping other gods. 1 Corinthians 12, 1 and 2. That's why when we go back to Isaiah, one more time, Isaiah 14. Verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. Least in the kingdom. And they shall take them captives. Who are the, and that's why it says, and they shall take them. Who is the them? Watch. Captives. Who captives they were. We're going to take, whose captives were we? Edom's. And they shall rule over their oppressors. So again, you see our people in Edom together. Why? You see our people in Edom. It keeps showing you that. Our people are going to go down that break God's law. They're not going to survive. And if they do, slavery as the other nations. But let's go back to Matthew 13. Finish this up. I've read so much, my eyes, but this is how you prove it. I don't know how we think that, you can sin and then you're going to be in the kingdom. Watch this. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, them that sin, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous, who are the righteous? The lawkeepers shine forth in the sun. Look, I got excited. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. the righteous shall shine forth, not the unrighteous. Like was spoken of in 1 Corinthians 6, 9, and 10, and Ephesians 5 and 5. The righteous, the law keepers, shall shine forth in the kingdom, not the sinners. Who have ears to hear, let him hear. We're telling you. The law keepers are getting the kingdom of Israel. The law keepers of Israel are getting the kingdom, not the sinful Israelites. They're going to be strangers, and they're going to be subject to penalty as the other heathen. Bottom line. That's why, again, let's go back and then let's end it. This is what we mean when we say the book of Amos not. That they may possess the remnant of Edom. Edom, well, notice it says Edom. When we are raised up, we're going to possess Edom as slaves, and of all the heathen which are called by my name. Those are the sinful Israelites. They're going to be possessed in slavery right along with Esau. Saith the Lord that doeth this. We already know that those Israelites, that's why he says the heathen, he called them idolaters, which are called the idolaters, the Gentiles, which are called by who were the Gentiles called by his name once before? Israelites, but they became Gentiles because of sin. That's why it says in verse 10, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. My people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Notice it says, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Evil now. But look at this. The book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs 12. I think Proverbs 12. Verse 21. There shall no evil happen to the just. Stop. There shall no evil happen to the lawkeeper. There shall no evil happen to the lawkeeper, but the wicked, the sinner, the Gentile, shall be filled with mischief. So we know that no evil is going to happen to the lawkeeper, the just. Ecclesiastes 8 and 5. Ecclesiastes 8 and 5. Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing. So if you keep the law, no evil is going to happen to you. And a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. Yes. So there's no evil thing happening to the lawkeeper. But look, Amos 9. Amos 9 and 10. Look at this. Amos 9 and 10. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. They say, the sinners say, no evil is going to happen to us. But God says no evil is going to happen to the lawkeeper. He didn't say evil was going to happen to the sinner, wasn't going to happen to the sinner. He says evil was not going to happen to the lawkeeper, not the sinner. The sinner, they're going to feel the evil. The lawkeeper, they won't. And part of that evil is being possessed by the children of Israel that kept the law. And you, Israelites that broke the law, you're going to be possessed as other nations. That's all this verse is saying. With that, brothers and sisters, all praises. Going into Colossians 2:16, over and over we've been into it, but we went into it, but we're gonna do it again. Because these Christians, whatever. All praises to the Most High, brothers and sisters. We got through it. It has been 2 hours. I don't know if you can count the precepts. Write them down. Somebody mark them for me and send me a text because my eyes are hurting. I don't know how much I've read. I did not intend on doing this much reading, but you must prove all things. These heathen that are called by his name are those sinful Israelites that were with Edom, and they will be slaves, servants and handmaids in the kingdom. Because if you don't keep the law, you're least. It's what we read in Isaiah 14, verse 2. Servants and handmaids. You'll see it, but you won't be in it like you want to be. You're going to be a servant in it. With love and peace, brothers and sisters, may God be with us.